started, frame a little bit the event for you here as well. So welcome to the final in the Somatic Shift series with the Somatic School this year. And today, for those of you who are here, wherever you've been today, whatever you've been up to, this event will hopefully you'll step away from this event feeling more nourished than you did coming into it, I would imagine, because that is the name of the game. Today's event will be all about a skill that we call taking in the good, all about working with this notion of neural integration around experiences that may serve to offer our clients, and in the case of this event, yourselves today, resources for the future. Help you integrate experiences, positive experiences in your life that may serve as resources as you go forward into the rest of your lives. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Before we begin, I just want to check by show of hands. Actually, I'll pull this slide down. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But yeah, by show of hands, who here's already a coach, qualified coach, or coaching training? Just out of curiosity. Okay, cool. Anyone new to coaching? And that, like, just beginning that journey or considering it? Okay, great, lovely. Lovely. So, and who here is a Somanaut, just already part of our community here at the Somatic School? Any Somanauts here today? I don't think we have anyone here today. Okay, cool. So everybody's new, lovely. Great. So, what I'd love to hear from you, maybe just a couple of shares before we get started then. What compelled you, what inspired or compelled you to register for today's event, which is Let It Land, Taking in the Good in Coaching. What was it that inspired you to register for this event today? Feel free to unmute, share for those of you who want to, or you can share in the chat as well. Yeah, Emma.
Can you hear me? I've got my pods on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
great. Yeah, I guess I was just really interested in how to really make the most of those moments in a somatic session when someone finds clarity or peace or something that feels good in their body, and how to really make the most of that moment so that they feel it on like a deep nervous system level rather than just going back and orientating towards maybe what's more painful or bigger than that. So yeah, curious on some techniques for that.
Great. Well, spot on. You're in exactly the right place, Emma, for that today. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And isn't it so often that we actually skip over those moments? Maybe we can come back to that as a point later as well. But yeah, really making the most of those moments, as you say. Emma, lovely. Sonia says pacing the experience and allowing space for integration. Nice. And Maria, having a nervous system dysregulated. And what about that then, Maria, then in terms of what you're hoping for from this event today, perhaps? If anything, feel free to drop in the chat. I know you've just shared that in the chat, so you're probably typing now. In the meantime, I'll tell you what, we'll unless there's any other shares, just opening up just briefly to check. If not, we'll get started then. Okay, here we go. So Gemma, interest in becoming a coach. I'm at the very beginning of that journey. Lovely. You're also in the right place. Good. Okay, so let's begin then. And we'll get the show on the road then. So, as I mentioned, my name is Nathan Blair. I'm the founder of the Somatic School, man of many beards, as you can tell, and we really are. There's a few things that have been coming up. I always share a bit about the Somatic School differently at the beginning of each of these Somatic Shift series. Today, I want to talk about something that's there was a period of time. I think it was from 800 to 200 BC or something like that. They call it, that's known as the Axial Age. It was a period of incredible innovation and creativity, and really began many of what we take for granted today, but that really has built up our kind of experience of modern civilization, modern life. There's a attitude or a perspective that we may be at the beginning of a new axial age in a way, and this is perhaps where we move from, for example, like knowledge economy, to what's come sometimes termed like the wisdom economy. What we might be moving from a kind of power over paradigm to a partnership paradigm. All of these through necessity, and also born out of the various experiences that we find ourselves in today as modern humanity and our planet. So I'd like to believe that the Somatic School makes a small contribution to this movement that is afoot. Whether it's certainly we are a part of that, riding that wave, so to speak. And because we really are here to train people to access other ways of knowing, intelligence beyond the intellect. I mentioned earlier, like the distributed intelligence through our entire body mind. There's ways in which we navigate the world from a sort of limited or partial experience of what's perhaps possible. And ironically, what's possible often takes us back to what's most natural. So it's not really necessarily about adding on. It's not about sort of transcending our known reality, but really a remembering of what is inherently human and some of our incredible capacities as mammals, really, as mammals in this interconnected planet that we are all living on. So the Somatic School, to put it in the context of a much bigger picture, is really part of the contributing to what we might call the new axial age. And in a more tangible way, we are the UK's first ICF accredited somatic coach training provider, and we were in fact the world's first somatic coach training provider to be awarded the ICF's new level 2 accreditation when it was released a couple of years ago. At this point we've now trained over 600 somanauts in small groups of maybe 17, 15, between 12 and 17 over the years. And just last year, we were recipients of an honorable mention in the Distinguished Coach Educator, the Distinguished Coach Education Provider category at the ICF Impact Awards 2024. So we're very proud of what we've created, but our most important work is yet to come, I think, in the world that we're living in today. As I mentioned, this is very timely work, and so you're all here right on time at this event today. So welcome, and glad to have you be a part of the movement in a sense. As I mentioned before, we have our flagship program is the Accredited Diploma in Body-Oriented Coaching. Should you want to become a professional body-oriented coach, Caro, maybe you could share, maybe now's a good time to share your link if you want to have a call with Caro, our course consultant. You're very welcome to set that up. We won't have time to take questions on the training or the course itself today. So if you've got further questions or you want to understand the fit for you, then of course, Caro is the person to speak to, or one of our other course consultants, and you can book a call using the link that Caro will be sharing shortly. Thank you, Caro. Okay, cool. So today, here's what we have in store for today then. So we're going to be understanding taking in the good as the deliberate internalization of positive experiences into implicit memory. All will be revealed. If some of this doesn't quite make sense right now, then unfamiliar language, then it will make sense soon enough. We're going to learn how to counter the brain's Velcro for bad, Teflon for good, negativity bias by slowing down and staying with nourishment. Going to discover the 5 enriching factors that strengthen neural wiring during positive experience, and explore the 3-step process that we train on our accredited diploma in body-oriented coaching for installing beneficial states as lasting neural traits. And then finally, practice. So today we are going to be practicing. Hopefully you've come open and up for some experimenting, some experiencing. I'd like to give you time in breakouts towards the end of the event to have a go at everything we've shared today. So treat this a little bit like a mini workshop. You're going to learn a skill and get the opportunity to practice it. So I hope you'd like to participate, but of course, if you don't, that's absolutely fine too. Do what feels right for you. So we're going to be practicing co-creating these somatic micro practices that help clients let the good land, so to speak, and carry it forward into their lives. This 3-step process, and then maybe even a bonus of little practices that we can help carry that forward, those benefits forward even further. That's what we're covering today. I should mention as well that I am a very new cat dad, and I have a little kitten here who is sitting on my lap. You may notice his tail flapping in front of my face from time to time. Oh, the joys of being a new cat dad. It's very sweet. Okay, cool. We'll come back to that later. For now, what comes up for people as they hear a little bit of what we're sharing today? Anyone like what we're covering in today's event? Anyone want to share any reflections so far? Anything that's piquing anyone's curiosity or interest in some way? Curious to hear from you. So, Emma, sounds great to you. Good. Okay, I tell you what then. Let's dive in, and I'm sure lots will come up. I wanted it to hopefully be as interactive as possible. Of course, naturally, if the camera's off, feel free to leave cameras off. Cameras on's great. Get to see you as well. But this event, like I said, will be a little bit more presentation style than the training at our event, our school usually is, which would be very, very facilitative, very, very interactive. But you come to learn today a little bit about taking in the good. So here we're going to be really looking at how there's a science of experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Really shows that each person has the power to change their brain, their neural circuitry, and their neural structures for the better as they grow as individuals, grow and learn over the course of their lives. What we're looking at today specifically is the idea that every time we actually take in this sense of feeling, for example, safe or satisfied or connected, we actually stimulate these responsive circuits in the brain. And when we stimulate a neural circuit, we strengthen it. And so there's beyond just simply a positive experience, a kind of nourishing, enjoyable experience or pleasurable one. We're actually looking at how we turn what would otherwise be a fleeting state into an enduring neural trait. So this is about long-term, sustainable long-term change for the better in somebody's life. Taking in the good, and we'll cover this again later, is this deliberate internalization of positive experience into implicit memory. Implicit memory is a type of memory, a categorization of memory that does not require conscious attention to be remembered. We don't need to consciously recall what exists in implicit memory. It can be made available to us without us actually having to do any kind of remembering as such. So these are the sorts of memories that we might not even be consciously aware of, but that shape our day-to-day action, the decisions we make, the thoughts that we have. It's memory that's laid down without going through the hippocampus, and that sorts and sequences conscious memory. So we, as a result of this process, we have these implicit memories that kind of shape our lives without our knowing it, and they, how we navigate the world is informed by these memories. So we can actually start to be consciously kind of filling that. Imagine that the implicit memory is like an external hard drive in a way, for example, and we can be conscious about what we're uploading into that. Basically, as we look at taking in the good, this is a part of how we do this. As we activate mental states and then install them as neural traits, we basically take neurons that fire together, which is the state experience, and they wire together, which is turning those into traits. And by doing this, and this is the last bit of a kind of precursor to what we're looking at here, we actually overcome what's known as the negativity bias in the brain. So Rick Hanson, who's a psychologist, says, and he's done some great meta-analysis of all the neuroscience, and actually whom we actually draw on for this skill of taking in the good, comes from Rick Hanson's work. And he says your brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. Unless you consciously take in good experiences, it usually washes through the brain like water through a sieve, leaving little good behind. So what this means, what is this, this is to say in essence then is that, at the somatic school, we sort of avoid language of negative and positive because, sometimes an experience can seem challenging, but might be the best thing that ever happened to us, for example, But having said that, if we think about negative experiences, about those ones that feel particularly maybe stressful, uncomfortable, and maybe even threatening, and then positive experiences being the kind of converse of that, maybe nourishing, resourcing, comforting, safe, those kind of things. So, as a survival imperative, it's important that the brain really latches on to those, takes those experiences that were perceived as threatening and says, okay, let's remember this, must remember this, for our survival, must remember this, to do this or not to do this when this happens, to do X when Y happens, for example, and these can actually get encoded into our implicit memory, into our long-term implicit memory, whether or not there was an actual threat, for example, might have just been a perceived threat, leading to all sorts of beliefs and behaviors later in our lives. And then, but also equally, these experiences where we feel comfortable, where we feel secure, where we feel connected, where we feel all of those lovely things, the brain doesn't prioritize that in nearly the same way for our memory. So Teflon, which is that sort of slight slippery surface on I think on frying pans, if I'm not mistaken. And do I have anyone? I think Teflon's a US invention. I think, if I'm not mistaken, their frying pans use Teflon. Yeah. So anyway, the slips kind of just slide off versus Velcro where they get stuck. So so what we're really doing is we're actually looking at how we have this negativity bias, which favors these experiences that are threatening or challenging in terms of our encoding those into memory. So what we want to do is we want to kind of do a disproportionate, want to be deliberately disproportionately taking in those good experiences to kind of balance it out, in essence, to balance that out, but also for a host of other benefits as well, as we take those in and really encode those into our neural structures for long-term storage. In other words, bringing back those strengths that we discover along the way to use elsewhere in our lives. So here's a bit of the science around this. I'm not going to go into each of these in detail, but the way that this actually functions in the brain is through experience-dependent neuroplasticity, predictive processing, long-term potentiation, memory consolidation, Hebbian learning, interoceptive awareness, effective neuroscience, and the evolutionary negativity bias are all of the kind of relevant neural systems, brain functions that really are relevant to this skill of taking in the good. In the long and short of it is in essence that slowing down a nourishing moment long enough to be felt in the body creates the neural conditions for lasting change. That's the kind of the main essence of what we're up to here. Okay, dokes. Anyone got any thoughts, questions, reflections thus far before I get into a little bit more? That's just a bit about the science. Say science of taking in the good.
Can you please let the slide with the nourishing moment a little bit more? I didn't read. Thanks.
This one?
Yes, thank you.
Great, absolutely. Yeah. Feel free to take a screenshot as well. And these it's a combination of these different elements that are up on this slide that are the kind of relevant scientific explanations for what is likely to be happening when we're doing taking in the good. And I say likely to be happening because at the Somatic School, we don't treat science as gospel. It's as much as we know today with what we have to measure, etc., and the ways that we can understand, and yet can be very helpful, informative for understanding why. Also, for those of you who are coaches and perhaps working in environments with more skeptical clients, maybe corporate environments, places like that, perhaps, the science can really help. science can really help for helping satisfy that left hemisphere desire or need to understand this logically, to give it some rationale. Why does this work? Okay. So let's get into just one more thing then, and then I'll introduce the skill itself. So there are 5 enriching factors that really make taking in the good, whether in your coaching sessions or just day to day in your life, really enriching factors that support this encoding of those experiences into long-term implicit memory. So the first is duration. So this is essentially, the longer we experience it, the more likely it is going to be consolidated in memory. By just taking a few seconds, even just a few extra seconds to stay with a positive experience, you'll help to turn a passing mental state into a lasting neural structure, a neural trait. Rick Hansen says a breath or longer. And so that's the kind of duration that we go for. It doesn't need to be long, but to just stay with it for a breath or longer, it's a good gauge, a good rule of thumb. Okay, intensity. So what we're talking about here is pleasurable intensity. As pleasurable intensity increases, the intensity of the goodness that we experience, particularly if it's more rewarding than expected. When we do that, the levels of the I never can say this word, neuropinephrine. Does anyone please give that a go if you want to come in? I can never pronounce it. Phenomenology I've got in lockdown now, but for anyway, I won't even try again. And dopamine, these promote the formation of new synapses. So this is what when we experience as the level of pleasurable intensity increases, that promotes that stimulates that, and therefore the more then the experience fosters new synapses, and the more it is woven into our neural structures, as I said, for long-term recall, well, not recall, for long-term memory. As I mentioned before, these implicit memories don't have to be consciously recalled, although they are at some level brought back online in certain moments as needed. And so we want to be taking time to take in the good, because as Rick Hansen said, if it's like Teflon and it's just sliding straight off, then in those moments where we may need to call on these resources, these experiences, these learnings, they won't be available to us in long-term memory, not unless we do some of this taking in the good, or at least this is how we can improve the recall. So multimodality is the third. So becoming aware of as many aspects of the experience as possible. So for this, when we think about what are we taking in, what's the good that we're taking in? Well, this could be present in, or this could be experienced in thoughts. The realizations, the insights, the ideas that give us a sense of comfort, clarity, confidence, etc. Sense perceptions, importantly, we'll come back to that in a moment, because there's something very important about the fact that this neural integration is actually quite an embodied process. Sensing it in the body makes a great difference to how the memory is encoded. So that can be through exteroception. Those are the 5 classic senses: sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. And then interoception, proprioception, also pleasure, relaxation, vitality, strength, those experiences through our sense perceptions. Emotions could be another one. Desires. So I'm talking about thoughts, sense perceptions, emotions, desires, including hopes, wishes, longings, wants, even aspirations, intentions, goals. If those give us our source of nourishment, positive experience for us, then those can also be an aspect of the good that we're taking in. And then actions like behaviors, facial expressions, postures, gestures that may coincide with this positive experience of ours. And all of that can be attended to in our awareness, but also it's a kind of differentiated awareness there: thoughts, sense perceptions, emotions, desires, behaviors. Even the differentiation of those different experiences can be helpful, because often there's the kind of taking the experience as a whole, But helping clients to differentiate these aspects of their experience can actually lead to greater integration. So just to mention that too. And then the final two, then we've got novelty. So each time clients' attention moves to another aspect of the experience, this creates new stimulus in the brain. So again, another reason to differentiate the experience itself. Can also support neurogenesis as well, which is the kind of creation of new synapses as well. And then personal relevance, last one. This is all about salience. Why does it matter to me as an individual or to my client in your coaching sessions? So after taking some time, taking in the good, we're inquiring about, how does this help you? Where is this? Where in your life is this valuable? But also we can actually, as we're going to be practicing in a moment, we can actually kind of almost help clients connect with what's meaningful or relevant for them in the moment in other ways too, even just reflecting what we're observing, which we'll come to in a moment. But the study suggests that any one of these factors can increase the registration of the experience in the body, in the neural structures. Again, encoding in long-term implicit memory to be made available for us as we go about our lives. Cool. Anything on this slide before we get into the actual skill itself of taking the good, the how of this, essentially. This is the kind of what and the why, and we're moving into the how now. Okay, guys, jump in if you've got anything, or feel free to share in the chat. So then, what is taking in the good? Oh, sorry, did I hear someone on mute? Okay, what's taking in the good? So taking in the good is the deliberate internalization of positive experiences into implicit memory to help your clients integrate positive experiences. We enrich the experience by staying with it, expand it inside, and then absorb it into the body-mind. It's a 3-step process. And this is based on the work of Rick Hanson, and this is how we describe it here at the Somatic School. So step 1, we're going to be staying. So these all begin with an S, and step 1 is stay. Stay with it for a breath or longer. Okay, so we want to stay with the experience for a breath or longer. The brain takes its shape from what it rests upon. So we're letting it mold itself around the positive experience we're taking in. That's step 1. Okay, stay. Step 2, sense. We want to feel it in the body. Yes, indeed, we spoke about the differentiated aspects of the experience throughout our taking in the good. We want to see if we can highlight or kind of take some time to articulate each of those different dimensions. And there's something very important about the actual sensing of this. The more we physically sense the bodily qualities of a realization we're having, that's a positive one, the more we're going to carry that realization into the future. This sense perception, the kind of experience in our embodied self-awareness of the good that we're taking in helps greatly with this encoding process. Then also, any thoughts, emotions, desires, actions that are arising, those are all relevant too. But that sensing particularly is an important step to this. So stay, sense, and then savor. Focus on what's enjoyable or rewarding or meaningful about it. So this increases dopamine, norepinephrine. Does anyone know how to pronounce that correctly? Anyone want to just jump in with the pronunciation of that one? Because I can't get it. Can't get it.
I think it's norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Yeah, it's all about where the emphasis is, isn't it? Norepinephrine. Thank you very much. That's perfect. I'll hopefully remember that now. Norepinephrine in the hippocampus, and therefore that flags the experience they're having at the time as a keeper for prioritization and consolidation into long-term storage. So this stay, sense, and savor is our 3-step process. Now there is a oops, hang on a second, I just need to change something here. There is a 4th bonus, which I'll share with you now as well. Here we go. One moment. So the 3 steps and this bonus that you can play with if you have time. So we've got stay with it for a breath or longer. Sense, feel it in the body. Savor, focus on what's enjoyable or rewarding or meaningful about it. And then a bonus is symbol or shape. This is something that we offer our Somanauts as a little bonus thing that you can do. So we can help our clients to find a gesture, a posture, a shape, and or a movement that embodies these resourcing states or new ways of being. There might equally be an object or an image that becomes like a symbol or symbolic of the experience itself. So finding a shape in the body itself that can become almost like a somatic practice, it's a form of anchoring. So we can get clients can either notice a gesture that's just organically emerging during this taking in the good, or we can invite them to find a movement, a posture that becomes the shape, or equally a symbol. So for example, there might be something that they, as they're talking about taking in the good, they're really reminded of a poem that they love, that this reminds them of, and that poem might also become a kind of an anchor, a form of ongoing integration of this experience of taking in the good. So further, that speaks to this duration piece as well, because actually the ongoing integration beyond this moment of taking in the good can also support with the integration further. So we've got these 3 steps plus this bonus. Now for the practice itself, I'm going to share a few prompts for each of these so you can actually take this into your practice. And we're going to do that now. So before we get into the practice itself, if you want to keep exploring, if you'd like to learn more about enrolling on our accredited diploma in body oriented coaching, then just type a yes into the chat box. If you type a yes into the chat, then one of our course consultants will reach out to you with next steps. You can also use the link that Kara's shared earlier in the event today, and that will allow you to book a call directly. Otherwise, just typing a yes into the chat box, and then one of our course consultants will reach out to you to give you an idea about what next steps are, depending on where you are in your journey. Okay, cool. So let's do some practice. Now, funnily enough, full transparency, I was in Google Slides earlier and I saw this little button that said beautify this slide. So I thought, oh, okay, yeah, why not? Taking in the goods, the name of the game, beautify this slide. Sounds very apt. So I clicked it and look what it did. Amazing. So a little bit out of theme for the rest of the slide there, but I just thought it was so pretty that I thought I'd include it. And this is what we're going to be doing in our breakouts. So client. So whoever chooses to be the client will have groups of 3. You'll either, somebody might not join your breakout room and then you'll have 2 people, but hopefully you have at least 2 people. You'll have, if you have a third, that third will be an observer, and the other 2 will be coach and client, or coach and coachee. So whoever's the client or coachee, you're going to share about a recent accomplishment or something that you're proud of that's happening in your life. A recent accomplishment or something that's happening in your life. It would really be great if this is something that's relatively current. Something that's relatively current that's emerging in your life is something that feels like something good that you'd like to take a moment just to be with. Coach, you're going to work with these steps of stay, sense, and savor. And maybe if you have time, that bonus of symbol and shape to really work with the client or the coachee to take in the good. We're supporting them to stay, sense, and savor the nourishment of what they are sharing. So you can do this in a quite dynamic way. The client can share. You can offer some prompts. The client might share a bit more. You might offer a bit more of the prompts. But ultimately, we want to see if we can go through that stay, sense, savor sequence, and then to symbol or shape. Afterwards, you'll have just a couple of minutes. So we'll be in breakout rooms for about 13 minutes in total. And you'll have a couple of minutes, you'll be 10 minutes coaching and a couple of minutes at the end for doing some reflections. Coach, you can start by self-reflecting. How was that for you? Client, sharing your experience what was the experience as coachee, and then the observer showing anything that you noticed. And then simply reflecting together and having a conversation together with each other for the remaining time if you have extra time. So that's what we're doing in the breakouts. Everyone clear on what they are going to be doing in the breakout? Let me give you your prompts, in fact, actually. Bear with me 1 second. That'll be better. And then once you've got those, sorry, what's happened here? The numbering's gone a bit off. Stay, sense. When I posted it into the chat, sense, and 3, save that. There you go. Okay, so you could take those with you. Those are some prompts that you can use to do taking in the good. This is a skill that we train on the course. There's something called contacting, which I think we did another somatic shift series on. So if you want to know more about contacting, I would definitely recommend checking out the recording of that. Or of course, training here at the school. All of these prompts come from a variety of different places. The stay prompts actually are drawn from the focusing approach that we train in our diploma. The sense prompts, presencing, which are coming from clean language. The saver is working with contacting, which comes from the Hakomi method that we also train all of these on our diploma. And the symbol and shape is an integration of kind of Wendy Palmer's embodied leadership work and then just kind of a anchoring, which is done in a number of different modalities. But there you go. So there's a few prompts that we're going to use for our stay, sense, and savor. If you are ready, then what I'm going to do is I'll set up some breakouts now and so there'll be 2 groups, 2 to 3. If you're in a breakout room without somebody in the room, then please just stay in the room. I'll find you a partner as soon as I can. Breakout rooms are open. We'll see you back here in about 12 minutes. And then we'll reflect as a group. See you shortly. Okay, welcome back. And nice to see some new faces as well. Lovely to have you here. Not new faces, but not new to the event, but new to our screens. So thank you for coming. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how your experience was in the breakouts. Anyone want to share anything on your practice there of taking in the good? Anything? Yeah, anyone wants to share it all?
Yeah, I'll share. Yeah, it's really interesting because I think like no matter how aware you think you are of your body and yourself and there's always something else to discover. And I found that structure super useful to discover something else that I was like, oh, I didn't know that was there. But the prompts I thought were like so spot on, and Sonia delivered them so beautifully as well. Like it felt so natural. So yeah.
Lovely. Beautiful. Good job. Thank you, Cara, for sharing, and good job, Sonia. That sounds like some lovely facilitating of the process there. Sonia, is there anything you want to share on the experience at all, just given that you're
I'm honored, and I think without the prompts, maybe my structure wouldn't have been so well received. So I'm very grateful for the teaching, and yeah, it's very integrative, and I even found the slides, the information that you delivered beforehand, useful to integrate in exploring the steps as well. So yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sonia. Lovely. And I saw, is it Cher? I think, is that your name? Correct if I'm wrong. Great. I saw you nodding away there. So I wondered if there was anything you want to share. You don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, I kind of do something similar in my own practice already, but I did find that the prompt to let it be there as fully as it was to be really helpful. I kind of forgot, to be very honest. Like I went into like the step 2 and sensing it, and then I was like, okay, let's come back into like doing that. And I think that actually made a difference because she really went in and she was experiencing it. And then when we then went back again with some of those clean language questions, I felt like it hit deeper. So I really love like echoing what Sonia said. I really liked structure because I think it really helped the client to really just get into it. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, fab. Beautiful. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing. And uh it was that's right. There's something there about letting it be there as fully as it wants to be, as well as to say, that's very much a focusing attitude that says, a positive experience might be here. We don't want to kind of force it. It's a very Taoist thing to not try to force anything, but to allow, things to be of their own accord. So we don't want to force the experience to be there for longer than it wants to be, for example. And that's what that language comes from. But ironically, allowing it to be there as long as it wants to be, often it's longer than we would probably stay with it if we hadn't had a prompt, an invitation like that, the permission to just let it be and let it be there as fully as it wants to be. And sometimes it gets more profound in our experience, more full, we feel it and experience it more fully than we would have if we thought to ourselves, okay, now I'm in a coaching session, so perhaps I should bring a problem for us to work on now, or an issue that's come up or something like that. And so, as I said, Emma, earlier, like so often we step over these moments when we maybe come into a coaching session. You say, how have you been since the last time I saw you? Oh, I can't remember the last time I felt this good, etc., etc., etc. Now here's what I want to bring to the coaching session today. And actually, rather than just being like, okay, let's work on that, it's almost like, well, let's just take a moment where you can't remember the time you felt this good, what feels good about right now, and take a moment with that, and then stay, sense, savor, symbol, shape, if you like. So very cool. Okay, excellent. Thank you all for your shares. So just a little bit then, and we're going to do after hours. For those of you who have a few more shares or questions, you're very welcome to stay at after hours for that. For now, I just want to share with you that this is one of the many skills on our accredited diploma in body-oriented coaching. You've been introduced to taking in the good today, and there are many, many other ways that we work. Now, of course, the skills themselves are an expression of a fundamental method of working, which is fundamentally about stewarding or midwifing intelligent unfolding, supporting the self-organizing process of complex living systems, of which human beings are examples of. And how do we do that? There's a number of skills that we can do that, and then additional kind of soft skills that aren't listed here that are important, essential for body-oriented coaching effectively, safely, responsibly. So this is a little bit just to show you where this sits within the wider skill set. As I mentioned before, if you'd like to hear more about the next steps to becoming a body-oriented coach yourself, if you'd like to get trained and qualified and go into this and all of the other skills in more detail, and how they all sit together, hang together, and kind of integrate into one integrative and coherent model of working, then you can type yes into the chat box now, or follow the link that Caro shared earlier. You can also scan this QR code. This QR code will give you the ability to register for one of our free introduction to body-oriented coaching events. It's a longer event. It's 2 hours rather than the 1 hour event that today's. And in that event, in the first half of the event, you hear more about a bit more context setting. But in the second half of the event, it's all about the training itself. So it's a great way to come and get all your questions answered about the course, and to learn more about what's actually covered in our accredited diploma in body-oriented coaching. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Substack. And if you'd like to book a call with Cara, you can use the link in the chat, or you can scan this code here. That brings us bang on time, and we are now into our after hours. So I will pull down these slides. So please take a screenshot, use the QR code or this one here if you need to. Otherwise, I'm going to pull these slides down and open it up. Anyone got anything that they want to throw into the mix before we close up today? And for anyone who has to go, thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks, Em. Yeah. Great. My pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Anyone, got anything at all? It's been Yes, Raquel.
Yeah, I just want to share something that Caro said earlier of like, oh, it's, no matter how much we believe or know how deeply embodied we might be, or how much what we've done in that respect. There's always more. And what was like came out for me, because this is something I, try to work with on a regular basis, is the fact that I think there's possibility to be more, live more from the body all the time, almost is like ever expansive kind of thing. But what I noticed was, when it came to the symbol that came up for me, I was feeling this sort of solidity in the center of my body, and the symbol that came up was a castle tower, and I was like, "There's no way if I try to do this exercise from my mind, that image wouldn't have, I will probably choose something completely different." So yeah, just a little bit in awe of, like, how almost really important is to not let myself believe that I know what I feel, and just to spend more time in actually feeling. Because at least in my experience, it's very easy to think I know how I feel cognitively, and very differently is to actually being in the feeling body. So yeah, just like an extra layer of that has come up for me.
Such a beautiful reflection, Raquel. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really lovely. Yeah, I love what you said, in awe, and how wonderful to experience wonder and awe right here, at home and with your own body that's with you all the time, that you experience your life through, and to feel wonder and awe from, our very natural full sensory capabilities that you've just tapped into there, deliberately. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And you're speaking to something that's really, really important. I guess it's kind of why body-oriented coaching, right? Why body-oriented? Because working with the body gives us access to that which is not already known. Like you said, we think we know X, Y, and Z. Often working with the body, when we turn our attention to the body in the way that you described, that which is not already known kind of emerges into our awareness. We have these insights. In the world of coaching, people often talk about aha moments, and in body-oriented coaching, that's really the waters that we're swimming in a way, because aha moments are almost, every other moment but when you're working with the body in this way, as you've discovered, you wouldn't have come up with that image if somebody had said to you, pick an image, but it came to you, maybe through you, in this more bottom-up approach, and these ways of knowing and coming to know that kind of bubble up from somewhere, a deeper knowing, you could say, rather than the kind of top-down sort of knowing. So yeah, how does any of that resonate with you, Raquel? I just want to come back to you briefly as I share some reflections on your reflections. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it resonates deeply because, I mean, one of my deepest desires in life is to just, how can I live more present? And as I hear you speak as well, I don't know what you're saying about, like, that it comes from somewhere else, and I just believe in this sort of void of the pulse of life in a way. There's somewhere that pulses, and if I'm moving fast and I'm not staying enough, or I'm up here, I get to miss the beauty that lives in that sort of void space. So yeah, that's how it's resonating for me, what you're sharing.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful, Raquel. Otto Scharmer, who created something called Theory U, describes what you're speaking to there as fourth person knowing. And, that space where this knowing sort of lives. The body is very much like a bridge in a way to access a kind of, what it also describes as a sort of trans-subjective kind of knowing. But the idea there is exactly as you say. What would it be like to more often kind of dip into that, to listen, to take a receptive stance and start to receive, some of that insight, knowledge, knowing the intelligence that lives beyond our kind of immediate, independent, and very personal intellect. You know, there's so much intelligence, vast intelligence available, distributed intelligence that we can access. And I think increasingly in the world we live in today, it's becoming increasingly important that we learn the tools and methods by which we can do that. So resourced and skilled to be able to do that and support others to do the same. So thank you, Raquel. Really lovely. And I think you're well at home. We're singing from the same hymn sheet here. And it's nice to hear you sharing your reflections. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lovely. Great. Okay, well, I think that brings us to time on the after hours. Unless Sonia or Elena, you have anything, any final burners, we'll wrap up for the day. All good. Okay, thank you for coming, Sonia. Nice to see you, Elena, Raquel, and everyone else who made it today. Thank you, Caro, and we'll see you again soon. Not sure what next year's series will be, but stay tuned. Exciting times. More will be revealed and the best is yet to come. Ciao for now. Bye, everyone.